The truth is that when you enter a marriage, you are entering into a legally binding contract, no matter where you live. And in each jurisdiction of your locale where you get married, there is a legal and legally enforced way of approaching how the relationship ends when it ends. And unfortunately, there is no happily ever after. I hate to break that to you, but we all are going to have our marriages end one way or another, either through death, disability, divorce, some would even say disinterest. And why not explore all of those what ifs before you get married? Welcome to Wealth Coherence. I'm your host, Emily Bouchard, a social worker specializing in human development and fascinated by human potential. For over 20 years, I've been a coach to families with successful businesses and leaders with successful careers, and you may be surprised to learn that true wealth is about coherence. When our inner state of being aligns with how we live, give, lead, and love. In this series, we will explore an integrated model to flourish coherently, because wealth isn't what we have, it's who we are when we are fully aligned. Introduction to Purposeful Prenups. Welcome to this special edition of Wealth Coherence, where we explore how to live a life of true alignment with our values, our purpose, and what matters most to us in our relationships, in our money, and in our work and in our giving. We're doing a series on purposeful prenups, and we want to start by just talking about what does that mean to be purposeful when approaching a prenup conversation. Section 1, why have a prenup? Let's start with what happens when you hear the word prenup, a prenuptial agreement, and why somebody would be bringing that up right when you're engaged, happily planning your wedding, getting ready to spend the rest of your life together. Why would you bring up a prenup when that means planning for divorce or don't you trust me? And the reality is that everyone should have a purposeful approach to a prenup conversation before they get married. It can be one of the most strengthening and meaningful conversations you can have, and probably multiple conversations actually, when it comes to who you are together as a couple and what matters most to you in the future, and really looking forward to how you're going to address significant challenges that might happen in your future. So let's start by reframing why you would even want to talk about a prenup if you have absolutely no plans on getting divorced, because nobody goes into a marriage planning on getting divorced. I find that very rare, if at all. The truth is that when you enter a marriage, you are entering into a legally binding contract, no matter where you live. And in each jurisdiction of your locale where you get married, there is a legal and legally enforced way of approaching how the relationship ends when it ends. And unfortunately, there is no happily ever after. I hate to break that to you, but we all are going to have our marriages end one way or another, either through death, disability, divorce, some would even say disinterest. And why not explore all of those what ifs before you get married? And there's a lot of reasons to do the exploration. And I want to share some of those with you and get started in having a great conversation about how this can actually strengthen your marriage. And the reason why is because when couples know how to have very difficult conversations about emotionally loaded topics such as money and divorce and death, I can't think of more emotionally loaded topics than those three, maybe taxes, then you are able to strengthen your bond and you're able to see that you can navigate anything. And it's really a skill to build. And it's something that when we don't have that as a couple, we tend to avoid talking about money. We tend to avoid talking about situations that might be more difficult to address. And what happens is with that avoidance, we end up with a void. In other words, an empty space where a lot of mischief can happen, a lot of misunderstandings, a lot of unmet expectations or unexpressed expectations. And it also can lead to couples not necessarily telling each other things that they're doing related to money. And one of the things that's come forward in recent years is the number one reason people are citing for getting divorced is not sexual infidelity, but financial infidelity. It's like the last taboo. Because we're not talking about it, people are going behind each other's backs. They're basically cheating on each other with how they're behaving with their finances. So one of the things to do up front is to work on being as most transparent as you can be and really upfront and intimate around your financial lives. So what we're going to be exploring in this series are ways to do that with each other that are healthy, that are life affirming, that are affirming of the relationship, and that make it so that you're equal partners in your relationship, even when sometimes the financial resources that you're coming to the relationship with are not equal. Section 2, your values and stories about money. So as we explore purposeful prenups, one of the ways to get started is to really think about your values. So I want to give you a little exercise to do to think about who you are personally related to your money, and then to get with your partner, and maybe you guys are watching this together, which would be awesome, and get back together with each other and share your inner values with each other in the relationship to money. And part of capturing those values comes from capturing your stories. So it's a kind of a two-part process. So spend some time thinking about journaling, considering for yourself, what are the earliest memories you have about money? And what did you hear? What did you see? What did you experience? And most importantly, what meaning did you make about the world of money as a result of those? And I'll give a story that's in my beginner's guide to purposeful prenups because it was so impactful for me. I was little. I was maybe 4 or 5 years old. And I went to Baskin and Robbins. I loved that ice cream store. And I would always look at the little clown cones in the freezer. And I asked my dad, I remember getting up the courage to ask my dad if I could have one of those clown cones. So that tells you something right there, asking for something you want. I'd already gotten a message pretty early on that that was maybe not the safest thing to do. So I asked him and he said yes. I was overjoyed. I was so excited. I got my cone and we walked outside and I took one lick. And what do you think happened? Those cones sit in the freezer and they're not tamped in. And that ice cream rolled right out of that ice cream cone and fell on the ground. And I remember looking at it and looking at my dad and knowing I couldn't cry about it and I couldn't ask for another one. Now, none of that is actually accurate, right? I mean, another dad, another kid, it might have been a huge tantrum, and another dad might have stormed back into Baskin Robbins and said, "How could you do this to a child?" But in my family, I learned not to ask for what I want, that was greedy or selfish, and to not cry over spilled milk, literally. That was frozen milk. And definitely do not ask for more. And that was really tied to money. And I also remember one time going with my cousin, we were going to get ready to go out and have a day together in a town we really liked to visit. And my uncle said to my cousin, who was my age, he gave her $20. He said, "Do you think that'll be enough?" And my dad gave me $10. He said, "Are you sure you need that much?" And it was one of those, can we switch dads? Like, I want the generous one that wants to make sure I have enough. And it's like these stories matter and it totally creates something within us. And I learned a lot about the value system around money in my family based on those little experiences or what I heard my parents say, or getting caught taking money. I don't know if you were aware of this, but every single person I've ever talked to and done this work with has a story of some time when they took money out of a parent's purse or out of a change thing and took it to go get something that they wanted. And it's just part of our evolution and understanding about money and what's ours, what's somebody else's, what we can do with it. How that's handled when it's discovered that you've taken something, maybe it was shoplifting or maybe it was taking something from somebody else, how that's handled has a huge impact. That story has an impact on us. So those are just a couple of examples. What you want to do is take some time and think about what are the stories you've heard and what are the idioms about money that you heard. Money doesn't grow on trees, or never spend the principal, whatever that might mean when you're a kid. But whatever you heard, capture those. What are the kind of common phrases that you heard or took in or made meaning about as a child or even as a young adult about money? And then get back together as a couple and really share those with each other with a lot of curiosity, empathy, and love. This is purely a conversation around discovering who you are, how you've evolved in your relationship with money over time, with debt, with saving, with spending. Think about significant memories in your life that had an impact on you and what that means to you in terms of your values about money. Section 3, exploring your money dynamics. Now, another way to start a purposeful prenup conversation, along with values and understanding personal stories from our history, is to also spend some time really considering and thinking about who we are as a couple with money. And take some time to uh, get together. I would say no alcohol or other substances have been imbibed at this time. Coffee, maybe a walking and talking date. I'm always recommending going on a hike to have these conversations. And when you're doing that, really explore with each other about how you've been handling money as a couple and what's been working for you all. And where are there possible areas of discomfort, some ill at ease feelings, some conflict, even maybe that you've experienced, and really like have a look at it, like a reality check around who you are as a couple in relationship to money. And how does it go when you have the conversation? When you bring up money together, what happens? Is it lots of understanding and care and there's a real enjoyment and laughter? Is it tense? Does it get a little bit defensive? Does it have a blow up? Is it shut down because of somebody not wanting to be able to talk about or can't talk about it? Do you hit up against certain differences in values around it? Maybe one's a spender and one's a saver. And how have you navigated it? And the more you can be really honest with each other and with yourself about what it's like and how you feel about it, the better, especially before you get married. And chances are, if you're planning your wedding, that you're already in the midst of a lot of financial decisions and values related to those, right? Like some couples really value the venue and want to spend a lot of money for that because of how important it is to get married at a particular spot. Others could care less about the venue, but they want to make sure the music is really first rate for them. Like that makes the most difference to them. Others, it might be the videography because they want to have that memento and it means so much to them. And there's some relatives that can't come and you want to have a really great video of the wedding. So you can see how whatever you're choosing to spend money on for the wedding, you're already navigating financial decisions with it. And you can also look at kind of the power differentials that might be coming into play around the wedding. If one family is paying for more of the wedding or all of the wedding, do they feel like that they have more say in what it is? And does the other uh, part of the couple not feel like that they have much say because they're not putting money into it? It's important to be clear about that before you get married, especially if there is a difference in how much money each of you is bringing to the relationship, because that can cause a lot of mischief later on. Section 4, managing emotions when talking about money. So let's talk about the emotional side of money conversations when it comes to purposeful prenups. When we come to a conversation that has emotions behind it, and you cannot have a prenup conversation and not have any emotion. It's just not possible because we're talking about things that matter to us: our money, our security, our well-being, our future, loss, anticipated loss, losses that we never want to have happen. And how do we manage our emotions in the midst of that? So some things that you might consider are really using your breath. So when conversations start and you get really engaged and you're having this conversation and the dialogue starts to get going and you start talking faster and maybe a little bit louder, you want to catch that as soon as possible, because that means that maybe some hormones are getting triggered, some stress hormones are getting going, and there's a kind of a fight or flight thing that's starting to happen. And the best way to slow that down and bring a relaxation response is with our breath. And the way you'll start to notice it is your breathing will get a little bit more shallow. You might be holding your breath and doing some deep sighs. You might Take a breath in and hold it. And what you want to do is you want to exhale out. So you want to take, breathe in for a count of 5 and then breathe out for a count of 5. And really let yourself exhale fully. And that will help to recalibrate the system. And if you just do 5 count breaths like that, it can make a huge difference or how you can relate. And one of the best recommendations I can give you is to slow things down when they start to get heated or start to get more hyper or more agitated. Slow things down, breathe together, and then check in and see, hey, was that enough? Are we able to come back to it now? Or do we need to maybe take some time out and recalibrate individually to get back to a better place? Do we need some time to think about what was getting triggered for us? Like what was getting activated that made us get upset or defensive, or one of us to get defensive and the other to not understand? And then really get back to, why are we even having this conversation? And what is it we really want to get out of this? We want to have a strong, healthy marriage, and we want to be able to handle conversations like this. And then that makes it so you really want to get back into the game together and really enjoy the process of getting to know each other better. And then you can start to talk about more details. But first, you've got to get started with how to even be able to talk about money with each other, and managing your emotions in the midst of that is essential. So the breath is a great way to do that. Thank you for listening to this episode of Wealth Coherence. If it resonated, I'd love for you to share it or leave a review. This will help others find their way to this space. And if you're ready to keep exploring what it means to live, lead, and give from a place of coherence, head to emilybouchard.com to stay connected. Until next time, be well internally and allow your external life to be the fullest expression of who you truly are.